account currently. It's inactive.
Well, Scott, you're the one who gives access by giving them a user role in roster management of commercial resource user. So once you give them that role, then they go to the resource center, which is where the heck is it here? Then they'll go to the resource center and log in like they normally would. And then you'll see right here is a link for commercial resource. So once you've given them the proper role of commercial resource user in roster management and they click on commercial resource, it'll say, this is, do you really want to go here? And you say yes. And then once you say yes, it takes them to their dashboard in commercial resource. So it's that simple. There's nothing for the agent to set up or do to get access. It's all a single sign-on through the resource center. Okay?
Okay.
Once you're at your dashboard, the dashboard is kind of the the main place, kind of intended to be your home page, I guess. The information that's displayed is similar for everybody, but unique to the person who's logged in. So I'm logged in here as me. You'll see my name up here. And the idea is kind of that which gets measured gets done. Commercial Resource is the internal technology platform for the Berkshire Hathaway family of companies. So the listings that are in here are the exclusive right of sale and lease assignments of Berkshire Hathaway and Prudential Network affiliates only. And we don't pull listings from LoopNet or Catalyst or Xceligent or some MLS or anything like that. Commercial Resource is the place where you enter your listings, and once you put them into Commercial Resource will do a bunch of things with it. The first thing it'll do is it'll syndicate it out to the Berkshire Hathaway Commercial Real Estate public website, BHHSCRE.com. So if we look here, and I'm logged in as me, and we have some samples, so you see the sample investment office property. When I put this into Commercial Resource, it will instantly show up if I search for my name here. There I am. So as soon as you click on Commercial Resource the first time you're set up, you can go in and upload a picture and edit your bio. But any of your listings that you enter will be hyperlinked at the bottom of the page. So this listing here that I put into Commercial Resource is instantly displayed here. And the page is automatically set up, and any pictures that I attach to it are here. And they scroll through every few seconds. The property description, the map comes in. I can share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter with one click. I can email this to somebody. Anybody that comes to the public website and finds this listing, they can click on my picture, and it'll take them right back to my bio. So, it's just kind of a circular thing. So the first thing you want to do when you log into Commercial Resource, the very first thing you should do is go up here and edit my profile. So when you click on Edit Your Profile, you can come in here and you can upload a picture, you can add your bio and information, and we've got a lot of training and things on this, but you want to keep it to commercial, have a professional picture and all that kind of stuff. If we go in here and say, let's click on Scott. So you're not even in here,
I have
Scott.
a D in my name, N-O-R-D-B-Y. I have a D in my name, N-O-R-D-B-Y.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm listed on the... Oh, I am.
Yeah, there you are. But you see, so all that means, Scott, is that someone's given you the access, the user profile, and you've clicked on Commercial Resource, and this is the information that comes in automatically. So your name, your phone, whatever's in the roster management for you is here, but you don't have a bio yet. So you need to go into Commercial Resource and click on Edit My Profile, and everybody should add yourself a bio. For everybody on the call, before I even go any farther, from any page in Commercial Resource, you can always come up here to FAQs. So if you click on the Frequently Asked Questions, you're going to be taken to the Frequently Asked Questions, navigation issues, editing your profile. So if I click on Edit Your Profile here, it'll take it. How do I edit my profile? Click on the Edit My Profile link. How do I change my name? How do I cut and paste? Bio pictures. Where can I find how-to videos? So all these frequently asked questions are there. If you're looking for more in-depth training in the frequently asked questions area, you can come over here where it says Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Commercial Resource. If you click on that, it'll take you to a bunch of training things. And I would suggest, Scott, for anybody in your company, if they're not on this call, or even if you are on this call and you just kind of want to revisit some of these things, you can come here. There's an introduction. There's how to log in and edit your profile, a tour of the dashboard, the Documents tab, Properties tab, adding a new listing for Tier 3 users, adding a new listing for Tier 2 users, and how to edit your listings, all that kind of stuff. And each one of them will have like a video, maybe 12, 15 minutes, a PowerPoint, and a PDF that you can print out and have as notes. So, come in and watch this, logging in and editing your profile, and that'll really help you make the best profile you can, because whether people are coming to commercial resource, like if we're in Tampa here and one of our agents has a client moving to Atlanta or to Colorado, we can go into commercial resource here, we can do an agent search, and we can say, find me a CCIM in whatever, Colorado, blah, 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 any place, and do a search. And when we find them, and I'll just search you, for example. But if I did a search that found you and I got you, this is what I'm going to find on you, just a name, address, and phone number. And the same thing at the public website. So if the public goes in to do a search for a good professional in the Denver, Colorado area, this is what they're going to find, as opposed to, something more detailed, like we saw in my profile. Not that mine is, ideal or anything, but you get the idea. They can read a little bit about you, and you can create it however you want to. It doesn't have to be laid out this way, but there's about me, career statistical summary, professional accomplishments, education, blah, blah, blah. And it just, gives them a little more feel for who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So I would encourage everybody, again, the first thing is to come up here, to click on Edit My Profile and do that. Or go to the FAQs and watch the training on how to edit your profile and then do it. But once you get your profile set up and start entering listings, then they'll feed out to the commercial public website, and it'll start creating a lot of things for you. Now, you guys are just you're the free Tier 3 subscribers, right, Scott?
That's correct.
Yeah. So what Commercial Resource will do for you guys is Christopher Atkins just logged on, so let me unmute him. Christopher, can you hear us okay? I assume he can. When you put a listing into Commercial Resource, again, it'll automatically display on the corporate public website. And one of the nice things about that is, say, for example, you're in your car and somebody calls you, or I call you and say, hey, Scott, send me some more information on that sample investment office property that you have. One of the things that you can do is you can, from your cell phone or whatever, you can go to the property, even in the public website. So, for example, you can go here, and then you can click Email to a Friend, and it'll insert a hyperlink for you. So I just put your email address here. And then I put, hey, Scott, nice to talk to you. Further our conversation this afternoon. Here's a link to all the information you need on the, sample office investment property that we were talking about. And I click Send. Then you get the email, and you click on it, and it'll take you right to this page in the corporate public website. So it makes it real easy for you and a real professional presentation. Does that make sense?
It does.
The other things that it'll do for you too is that do you want me to talk about the Tier 2 stuff, Scott?
Yeah, you can jump into the Tier 2 stuff. Once we get our head around the whole commercial platform and get it rolling, we'll upgrade immediately to Tier 2.
So as a free Tier 3 user, you can put your listings into Commercial Resource, and they'll show up automatically on the corporate public website. Anybody in the system can come into Commercial Resource and do an agent search and search for you and find you. anybody in the public can come to the corporate public website and do an agent search and find you and find your bio and read all about you. And so that's kind of an internal and external database of all the listings, all the exclusive right of sale and lease assignments, and all of the sales professionals. So it's searchable either internally or externally by the public. And that's all free. Now, the Tier 2, when you log in right now, you'll notice that the Documents tab is inactive and the Content tab is inactive. And when you guys go to add a property, there's limitations. You can enter the property and all that, but it's not there is not as much functionality once you've got the property entered into it. So let me go into that a little bit. Entering a property is real intuitive. You click on the Properties tab, and again, there's training for it in the FAQ area. But you click on the Properties tab, and from the Properties tab, you can search for a property, add a property, or edit a property. To search for a property, you can do, a zip code, a certain range of miles of a zip code. You can enter a state. If you pick a state, then a drop-down will appear with cities in that state. You can search for sale, for lease, all the standard property types. If you pick a property type, you can pick a subtype. So I picked office, business park. You can search the entire database of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services companies, or you can limit it to, any one company. You can just search your own listings if you want. If you want more detail than that, you click More Options. You can search by address or partial address, MSA, agent name, partial name, size, whatever. Another nice thing about it is you can, if you've got maybe a client that you exclusively represent that wants to buy, 100,000 square foot net leased industrial buildings anywhere in the country, you can go in and do that search in here, and then you can give it a name and save it so that you don't have to redo it all the time. You just pull it up and redo it and rerun that search. But if you want, you can click this button here that says Notify Me. And what that'll do is that'll keep the search alive, and so you'll never have to do it again. If somebody a week or a month from now enters a property in Kansas City that matches your search, the system will see that. It'll send you an email, and it'll say, hey, Scott, somebody in Kansas City just entered a property that matches your industrial search. Here's a link to the property. Here's how you call the listing agent. So within the family of companies of Berkshire Hathaway, you don't have to do bulletin board blasts and email blasts and constantly doing searches. Anything that matches the search, as broad or as narrow as you made it and saved it, will be monitored automatically for you. Does that make sense?
It does.
Adding a property is simple. You just click Add a New Property. Any data field that's a required field will be visible, and it will have a red asterisk by it. So we have certain data fields that are required. You can't move to the next page or save a property until you fill in all the required data fields. There's a lot of reasons for that I won't get into right now, but it's just the way it is. In terms of listing information, listing date and expiration date, no one will see that except the listing agent and his or her sales manager. But it's required because on the dashboard, you'll see one of the graphs that we have are active assignments and upcoming expirations. So we can't notify you or graph out what your active assignments look like or let you know what your upcoming expirations are like unless we have that information. The other thing too is on the expirations, because we're feeding your listing out as an exclusive right of sale or lease assignments to the corporate public website, we don't want to misrepresent anything and be feeding something out that is technically expired. So once a property has expired in the system, once we reach that expiration date, it will go inactive. What that means is that it won't feed out, it won't be visible to anybody other than the listing agent. It's 2 mouse clicks to reactivate it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear. Nothing is lost. But for ethics and liability reasons, once it reaches the expiration date, it'll go inactive. But what the upcoming expirations here will do is 60 days, 30 days, 14, and 7 days prior to, say, this listing's expiration, the listing agent and my sales manager are going to get an email saying, hey, the Falconite Center property is expiring on March 31st. Make sure you're meeting with your owner, renewing the listing, and updating it in the system. And I'll get that email again 60 days, 30, 14, and 7 days prior to the expiration. If I don't do anything with all those notices, and it gets to the expiration date, it'll go inactive. So that's a nice. So the sales agent and the sales manager kind of have a handle on what's going on in the agent's world of business. But back to properties tab and adding a new property. These are the required fields, and if you want to fill in more data, you just hit show additional fields, and dozens of other data fields will show up. If you're a tier 2 subscriber, click on this, and a couple of things will happen. One is that there's an offering memorandum listing button and enable export to third-party CIEs. So if you're a tier 2 subscriber, you can click these buttons, and a couple of things will happen. This button here, enable export to third-party CIEs, will tell the system that you want this to be syndicated out to places like Commercial Search, Xceligent, Catalyst, CCIM, Redex, RealUp, Rofo, Property Line, and all of those. The only publicly accessible CIA platform that won't take data feeds from anybody is LoopNet. So if you're using LoopNet, you'll have to re-enter it there. But other places, you can enter it here. If you check that button in a tier 2 user, it'll syndicate out for you. The nice thing about that is it's a single point of entry. You enter it here and it goes where you need it to go. You get a price change, you change it here, and it permeates out to where you need it to change to. That make sense? And then this OM button we'll talk more about in a second. I'm going to get out of here and go to an actual property that's already in the system so we can kind of show you some things. When you put an address in, it'll automatically geocode and map it for you. This happens to be an office property, but what I want to show you is while these are the required fields that you see there, there are literally hundreds of other additional fields that you can fill in, and the more you fill in, the more complete your offering memorandum and package will be, the more professional it'll look to the brokerage community and to the market. So I always tell everybody, don't just path of least resistance it and put in the required fields. Put in as much as you can. But you can see it's very robust, and the data fields change depending on the property type. So, office buildings have gross, rentable, and usable square footage. Retail properties don't have all three of those square footage, and so on and so forth. Listing agents, if you're putting a listing in for yourself, the default will be you. If you're working on it with other people, you can, highlight them here and put them over here so they'll show up with you. Prices, asking price, and then it'll automatically calculate your asking price per gross and rentable square foot. This is an office building, so there's gross and rentable square footage. You can keep the price confidential if you want, just by checking that box. The default is that the property is available. Once it's under contract, though, you can come in here and make it pending. And then there are more data fields that you can fill in. And then once it's closed, you can come in here and mark it closed, and there are more data fields to fill in. What's nice about that is once you do that, it feeds data to your dashboard, to your closed and pending transactions graph, and you and your sales manager can kind of get a handle on what's going on in your business. If this really were my business, this hopefully would be scary and motivating to me and informative to my sales manager that I'm really not doing the things I need to do. But nothing will feed to this graph if you don't go in and mark it pending or closed. Then the last thing I'll show you here real quick is you can come in here and put in some financial information. This happens to be an investment property, so it works. Calendar year, proposed for the next year, proposed purchase information will pull in from the listing price that I put in, cash down. It'll automatically calculate the total cash needed, the amount of first mortgage. If I put in an annual interest rate and a loan life, a number of payments per year, an amortization period, it'll calculate the number of months, the total payments, the principal and interest payments per month, per year, and the sum of all the payments. And then once I save that, it creates a whole bunch of things for me. So the first thing, and this is all for tier 2 stuff, not tier 3. The first thing it does for me is really, you get a listing this afternoon and you got a chamber breakfast tomorrow morning and you want to take a flyer to it. And in fact, Lee, I think we were talking about this the other day. You can come in here and click PDF flyer, and then just very easily, drag some pictures over, say, no, actually, I don't want that one, I want that one, and I want them in this order. Then there's some data points. You can pick up to 6 of them, and you just, pull them in depending on, what it is you want. And once you get them organized the way you want, you can, move them around. You just click generate, and what happens is the system will generate in 5 seconds, a pretty high-level single-page flyer with the name, address of the property, your company logo, the pictures that I pulled in, the price, the executive summary, the highlights, the map, the data points I pulled in, the listing agents, the disclaimer. It's all there, and I can print that, save it to my hard drive, email it, whatever I want, and I can change it as quick as just doing that. Come back here and do anything I want with it, depending on who I'm sending it to. So that's a real nice feature for the Tier 2 subscribers. The other thing is the offering memorandum listing. When like I was saying, if you called me on the phone, Scott, and said, hey, Mike, send me some more information on that sample office investment, I can go here to the OM listing. I can go to the Share tab. What's your email, Scott?
Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Nordby, N-O-R-D-B-Y, at iregroup.com.
So I put your email address in here and I send it to you, and the system is going to automatically create for me an email. You're going to get this email already formatted. It's going to have my logo, the name of the property, the price, a hyperlink link to the map, the picture, the highlights, all the listing agents. You'll be able to share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. It has a disclaimer. All that's there. And if you look at this and say, yeah, this is something I'm interested in, you can click here to view more details. When you do that, it's going to take you to the digital offering memorandum with all these tabs, but none of them are active, because you must first agree to the following. So there's a digital offering memorandum, confidentiality, non-disclosure, and circumvention agreement. You click agree, put in your name, your company, your email, your phone, and when you click go, a couple of things happen. The first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get an email that says, hey, the following person just signed the confidentiality agreement on this property. Here's his name, here's his company, here's his phone and email. Here's a link to the listing. Give them a call now to see if you can schedule a showing. So now I have permanent digital confirmation, Scott, that you signed the confidentiality agreement on my listing. And once you've done that, you'll get access to all these tabs. And so the more data that I put in, the more information you'll have available to you. So that's, property details, financial information we went through that I put in. If I put in a rent roll, it'll appear here with detail, as much or as little detail as I choose to put in. Maps, the main map will pull in automatically and it'll be active. You can make it a satellite, do whatever you want. If I attach other maps, they'll be there. Any documents that I've attached to it, you'll have access to. So this is happens to be a PDF, sample thing. Due diligence documents vault. Once you get the property under contract, Scott, you'll come in here and click on the due diligence documents vault, and you'll go through the confidentiality agreement, and you'll agree to this and request access to all the due diligence material that I have in here. I'll get an email telling me you've requested access. I'll give you access, and then you'll have access to all the folders and files for, surveys, tests, studies, environmental audits, rent rolls, all that kind of confidential stuff that I wouldn't want to give you until you got it under contract. And every single time that you access the due diligence documents vault, the system records what day and time you've accessed it and what document you've accessed. So I've got permanent digital proof. You can never come to the closing and say, well, you never showed me that, I never got that document. I can do a report and say, well, as a matter of fact, you did 4 times you accessed it, So it's a real nice feature, help you be a lot more efficient, a lot more effective, and a lot more, professional about how things are going for you. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to everybody else?
Yeah. The last thing I'll show you here is if it's an investment property, you can click on this button here. It will say build cash flow analysis. I've already done it for this property, so it says view cash flow analysis. But what this is a very kind of, you don't have to have a master's degree in finance or a CCIM designation, and you can build a pretty solid cash flow analysis and APOD for this property. What it'll do is it pulls in all the listing information from the listing itself into these fields, but you can change it for purposes of this analysis, and it won't change the listing itself. It just changes it here. And we've got these tooltips. Everywhere you see a question mark, you can just roll over it, and it tells you, this data has been imported from your listing details. You may change it here for the purpose of this analysis without affecting the original listing, blah, blah, blah. And you can, this data has been calculated automatically and entered here based on 20% of the listing price. You may change it here to whatever you choose. Changing it here will not affect the original listing price. But anyway, so you get the idea. It's very intuitive, very easy. You plug in things. You can plug in more purchase information, title insurance. You can add or subtract anything you want, do as many fields as you want. You can put in up to 3 mortgages with whatever amounts you want. And again, there are tooltips here to tell you what they're looking for here, so you can't mess it up too bad. Then it'll automatically calculate the total mortgage amount, the total equity, the loan costs and fees, total acquisition costs, and the basis at acquisition. Once you've done with that, you can go to rent roll. If you didn't put one in the listing, you can build it here. If you did put it in the listing, it'll roll into here. But it's very, very flexible. You can put in the suite number, tenant name, square foot. On the rent, you can put it in as dollars per square foot per month, dollars per square foot per year, per month, and you can have each tenant different if you want. Lease start and end dates and all kinds of things. Income and expenses with all kinds of assumptions. You can add as many expense categories as you want. It will calculate the total operating expenses, the NOI, the annual debt service. If you have any participation payments and all that, you put them in here. It'll give you a cash flow before taxes. Put in all your assumptions on, useful life, in-service date, tax brackets, all that kind of stuff. And it'll automatically build for you this APOD statement, which you can export or print or whatever. But it gives you, a very classic-looking annual property operating and data statement and a cash flow analysis. I only asked this one to do it for 3 years, but it'll fill out all the cash flow before and after taxes. We don't get into internal rate of return or discounted cash flow analysis here. That's an element that we're building now that'll be added to this, probably in the next 60 days. But all of that is, very simple, very easy, very intuitive, and it's all done, right from within Commercial Resource simply by clicking on the Build Cash Flow Analysis button. So that's kind of all the things that are special about Tier 2 use on the property side. On the document side of things, for Tier 2 users, the document tab would be active. The default folder would be your company folder, Scott, so you would have complete control over this. You would decide what forms and documents you want to put in here. So to the extent you have commercial forms, you can create folders and files and do whatever you want and put things in here. To the extent you don't, you, Scott, would have access to the company admin documents folder, and there are literally thousands of forms in here that, with 3 mouse clicks, you can move into your company folder. Some of these things, though, you need to look at because, they may have some state-to-state sensitivity, but 95% of what's in here you guys could use tomorrow. All the investment analysis forms, all the planning and the marketing plan stuff. The things you'd have to look at would be the contracts and leases, because these are written for Florida law. They're basically our forms that we use here in the Tampa Bay area. But very easy stuff. The Topaz system, this is the Orion Process and Accountability System. This is everything that we would use in the process of identifying a new potential assignment, competing for it, winning the assignment, developing a targeted marketing plan and budget, implementing that, generating prospects, showing all the stuff we'd use in that are in this. And the presentations are all buyer rep, tenant rep, seller rep, landlord rep, build to suit. The PowerPoint presentations and the written leave behinds are Word documents. I'll open one of the PowerPoints here real quick just so you can see. What they are, though, is kind of boardroom quality, ready to go. In this case, a presentation that you can drop your logo into. But the idea is just fill in a few blanks here, and in a minute, you have a very high-level PowerPoint presentation, in this case for the process of taking a new seller rep assignment. Again, they're PowerPoints, so if you want to add or delete or change anything, you can do whatever you want with them. Changing them here doesn't change them in commercial resource, so you don't have to mess anything up. If you change it here, you can save it onto your hard drive. But what's nice is if you look at that, then you look at these the Word documents. These are if you're not going to use a PowerPoint, maybe you're going to just sit one-on-one with somebody across the lunch table, or even if you use a PowerPoint and you want to have a written leave behind, this would be that. It's a lot more voluminous because you're not there with words. But what it does is it comes in and asks you, what's the client's first and last name? And I'll just put, Scott. Whoops, if I could spell. And then, what's your client's title? What's their company name? What's their address? What's your name, your company, your phone? How big is the property? What's the name of it? Features and benefits, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you answer all these questions, and everywhere where the answers to those questions should be, it fills it in. So you'll see everywhere where the client's name should be there, title there. And it's again, Word document, so if you want to add something, you can add whatever you want, change it any way you want to. But in a matter of again, another minute or so, you've got a high-level, written leave behind that's fully customizable. You can do whatever you want with it, that mirrors the PowerPoint that we just made. And we have that, obviously, like I said earlier, for buyer rep, tenant rep, seller rep, landlord rep, build to suit. And then we're always talking about the very systematic, methodical approach we have to marketing, commercial, and investment real estate. This report section, I'll open the seller rep one here, but it's, I don't know, 34. Go ahead.
Michael, is this stuff only in, is this in level 3 or is this in level 2?
No, this is all tier 2 stuff. The tier 3 stuff was what I showed you first, the ability to access the system, to put your listings in the system, to have them feed to the commercial public website, to edit your bio in the system, to have it feed automatically to the site, for your listings and your bios to be searchable either internally or externally. All that stuff is the free tier 3 stuff. Everything else is tier 2.
Okay, no worries.
So, everything, client information surveys, project objectives, tasks and responsibilities, team checklists, timelines, property information checklist for every kind of property type, cost approach, income approach, market approach, just every checklist and system and process that you could have, in this case for seller rep, is here. I'll open one of these just as an example. This is the property information checklist. What is this? Industrial. So, if whether you're an industrial specialist or a commercial person that this is the first time you're going to do an industrial property, this is a really valuable form for you because it gives you a whole bunch of pages, hundreds of data fields of questions you need to ask about an industrial property. So especially if you're not a specialist in industrial, they're going to be things you don't even know. Dock height, drive-in, roll-up doors, load levelers, floor load capacity, eave heights, column spacing, rail siding, power capacities, 3-phase, 4-phase, how many amps, crane capacities, crane height, hook height, crane load capacity, all those kinds of things. This happens to be an 8-page document on all the questions you need to know about an industrial property. Does that mean you're going to, have data for every one of these data fields for every industrial property you do? No, not necessarily. But, hopefully you get the idea that it's very robust and it's really going to help you, one, gather more information, have a better idea of what the asset is, so you have a better range of values. You're going to impress your client because you're asking questions nobody's ever asked them before. You're asking things they don't even know. The brokerage community is going to be much more impressed and cooperative with you because Your presentation materials are going to be complete and look like you know what you're doing, and on and on and on and on and on. So that's the Topaz system. The training library. There are hundreds of training things in here. The Commercial Real Estate Success Training Program, this is kind of a master's degree, if you will, in commercial real estate. 26-module mentored self-study program. These are the workbook modules. 2 weeks per module, so it'd take a year to get through it if you did it that way. We have recorded web sessions that go with each of them. The Orion Commercial Real Estate Institute, there's a 30-day program for brand new commercial people. So they'll never come in and say, what should I do today? Every minute of every day is programmed for the first month. When we do our first Thursday trainings for Tier 2 users, we have training on the first and third Thursdays of every month. And we record those and put them in here. Commercial Real Estate Fundamentals training. You know, there's recorded webinars for you know, business planning, time management, prospecting, lead generation, cold calling, 3 hours on how to make a listing presentation, valuation fundamentals, and on and on and on. You get the idea. There's a leasing course on how to read a commercial lease, 5 hours on prospecting, lead generation, and cold calling, dozens and dozens of modules on just sales skills, not necessarily commercial real estate, but branding, closing, follow-up, goal setting, interviewing, marketing, negotiating, handling objections, opening stage, just all that stuff is in the training library. But the last thing I'll do here is my private documents. Every Tier 2 user has a private documents folder, so from anywhere in the world they have internet access, this would be the place they would put their deal folders. So if you're going to China and don't want to take a laptop with you, you can put your deal folders in here, and from the Hilton in Beijing, you can access the internet, go to Commercial Resource, and access all your working deal folders that you need. Nobody else can see that. Well, I guess the FBI and the NSA could see it, but you know, generally speaking, nobody else has access to any of that.
Was that a political comment?
I'll shut up for a minute here and let you guys ask questions. Lee and anybody, the rest of you, your mics are all open, so just go ahead and ask questions if you have them.
Hey, Michael, this is Andrew. I got a series of questions. Sure. You covered some of that, but I'll just go through them. In the database where all the listings are, those, could you say they'll go out to Xceligent, some of the other services out there? Does it maintain a historical database of all the properties in a specific geographic area?
In Commercial Resource, the only properties that are viewable, that are active exclusive right in sale, exclusive right of sale and lease assignments. Now, when I sell this property, I mean, this property isn't really for sale, but when I sell this property and I go in here and change the status from pending to closed and save it, what happens is it becomes a comparable sale. So it's in there, and I can find it, and other people can find it, but they won't. Other people won't find the intimate details of the sale. They'll just find that it was a $20 million office sale in Clearwater, Florida, that was sold by Mike Fields on this date. And then they can pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hey, Mike, I see you sold this property. Are you able to give me some some information on it? I'd like you to use it as a comp." So as to the extent that happens, any property that's put into Commercial Resource cannot be deleted. It's always in there. It just, once it goes inactive, it's not visible by anybody really except the listing agent, unless, of course, you've marked it as a closed property. Then it's part of the comparable sales information for your company.
But it's only going to be from those agents that have the ability to use Commercial Resource.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So and I'm only just using CoStar as an example. So because CoStar, they go out there and research all solds in the marketplace. So like if I want to do an analytics search to find out, okay, in the 3-mile radius of this specific vacant land site, like I'm doing something for self-storage, how many other self-storage units are there and what's their square footage. I probably couldn't do something like that, commercial research.
Yeah, no, it's not. Not. Well, in Tampa you could, because what we did was, when we started this, we always have 2 or 3 interns. There's a master's degree program at the Florida State University, University of Florida, and USF for commercial real estate. So we always have interns. And we told them, we said, hey, go to our file system, pull out every deal we've participated in selling or leasing, put them into commercial resource as if they're a listing, and then immediately mark them closed and put in all the closed information. So in 60 days, we had 2 years worth of comps. Then what we did was we had our interns go to every, we operate a lot like a Cushman, CB, Colliers, or JLL, where our people focus by property value, size, type, and geographically. So each one of our people are experts in their market. They know every property, every space, every tenant, every user, every lender, every owner. They know when everything is sold. So we took all that, even the stuff we weren't involved in, put it into commercial resource. One thing I didn't point out to you, when you're entering a property in the system, one of the things you can do is this is a third-party listing. So if you put a property in the system and check this as a third-party listing, it won't feed out to anybody. It won't represent as a listing of ours or anything. It'll just go in there as a property. So we put in every building that's sold over the last 2 years, even if we weren't involved in it, marked it as a third-party listing, marked it as closed, put in all the closed information. So we, in Tampa, we have, because we've done the work, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comparable sales, way, way, way better and more accurate than CoStar could ever hope to have in our marketplace. But we operate differently than most companies, and we're able to do that. Over time, you guys eventually could accomplish that as well.
Right.
But the
So,
system,
Michael, this is Darren. If I could follow up on Andrew's last question. So when a property is uploaded into commercial resource, and I don't know if this is a question of what tier level we're going to be on, but can you clarify or confirm that that property, once in commercial resource, will then be distributed to the big 3 commercial sites, meaning Xceligent, CoStar, and LoopNet, or how does that exactly work?
No, it definitely won't. LoopNet, I said, is the only play. And CoStar bought LoopNet, so I talk to them as one and the same. CoStar and LoopNet, they've gotten pretty arrogant. They're charging huge prices on almost a per listing basis, so they don't take data feeds from anybody. So if you use LoopNet, obviously you got to put it in there. Xceligent, yes. Xceligent's publicly accessible CIE platform is Commercial Search. Commercial Search does pull all of our listing information into Commercial Search, and then they feed it over to the Xceligent people, who they claim personally, individually verify everything before they put it into Xceligent. They don't just electronically pull it in. They claim that they individually, personally verify everything. But all there's like Property Line and Property Shark and International MLS and Real Massive and any of those other important ones that you might be able to think of or name do pull information from us. Like right now, I'll show you this right now, but this is changing because Catalyst Catalyst pulls data from us, and they syndicate it to many of the commercial associations of realtors. In many areas, the commercial folks have broken away from the residential board and formed their own commercial association of realtors. And Catalyst is the one that powers most of their CIE platforms. So we syndicate information to Catalyst, and Catalyst feeds it to those commercial associations of realtors. But they're going to stop doing that the 15th of this month, actually, in a couple of days. Well, tomorrow, I guess it is. So this is going to change. But right now, there's 84 publicly accessible CIE platforms that we syndicate to, and many of them are these local commercial CIEs that will go away. But we still, we're, Commercial Search, Retail MLS, Green Efficient, Property Data, Commercial IQ, 42nd Floors, Xceligent, Catalyst, Real Buzz, Property Shark, Real Up, Office Space.
So pretty much everybody but LoopNet.
For the most part, yeah, and CoStar. And if you guys have a local EDC, a lot of metropolitan areas have an economic development council that has a commercial real estate property database. And if you guys have that, let us know who it is, and to the extent that they'll take a feed, we'll open a window and they can pull all your listings into their EDC platform.
Okay.
So you can see we're feeding, to all of these already.
Yeah.
And there's some on here that we're feeding to that we haven't updated this because we knew that Catalyst, these were going to go away. So, but Real Massive, the International MLS, some of those we need to add to here. But it's an impressive thing, if you're sitting with a in a listing presentation and say, geez, 5 minutes after you hire me, I'm going to go back to my office. I'm going to put this into Commercial Resource, our proprietary system, and then it will be syndicated not only to our commercial public website, but to as many as, 80 some other publicly accessible CI platforms instantly. We don't hold pocket listings. We don't wait to see if we can sell them before everybody else. We put it in the system and feed it out there. And, you and I know as commercial real estate sales professionals that that's not how commercial real estate is sold. It's not residential real estate. It's not a shotgun approach to marketing. We do those things because you never know, and owners want you to do them. But the truth is that, 78% of our listings we sell ourselves. Not because we don't encourage and protect co-brokers, not because we don't expose it to the brokerage community day one, but it's just the nature of commercial real estate. It's targeted marketing. It's me knocking on your door saying, hey, I noticed your parking lot was full and you're tripping over yourself in boxes here. You need a bigger office. Let me show you one that works. It's that. That's what sells and leases commercial real estate. But this shotgun stuff appeals to owners, and they think it's important. So obviously we do it.
Cool. Thanks.
Michael, this is Lee, Michael.
Yes, sir.
How do you search the solds? I didn't see a link or a button when you were flying through.
Yeah, I was flying through. It's in the training, but if you go to Property tab and you go to More Options, you'll see if you're searching for sale here, you'll see the default is open and pending properties. But if you go here, you can say close in the past 3, 6, 12, 18, or 24 months.
All right.
And then, you can property use, investment, vacant, whatever.
Okay. I got it.
Address, MSA, however you want to do it.
And I have another question that
Sure.
I don't want to bore with them, but
no, you're good. You're good.
The offering memorandum and flyer creation. I couldn't write fast enough to keep up with you.
Well, you don't have to. Just go to FAQs.
Yeah.
Go to here to the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Commercial Resource Training, and you'll see here the documents vault, Eddington. There's all the training is in here, and you can look at all of that there. You are a tier 2 user, Lee. So for adding a new listing and all the things that have to do with a new listing in the PDF flyer and all that, you'll find them in here. You guys right now in Colorado, you're tier 3 users. So when you look at adding a new listing, look at this one for tier 3 users. But if you upgrade, then obviously be this one.
What's the cost of tier 2?
It's $3,000 for a year for your entire company. So whether you plug in 10 people or 100 people, there are no agent fees or branch fees or user fees or anything like that. It's just $3,000 a year.
And Lee, are you with Georgia Properties with Dan Forsman?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
a buddy of mine.
Jatine Stevens kind of runs the commercial group there, but yeah, Dan sold to Home Services of America, but I think he still runs the show there.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
He does. He's helped us out a lot in our transition here. He's one of the guys that, really, it took a lot of thought for us to do a transition the size we are as an independent to go into the Berkshire platform. And, the commercial resource was a piece of that decision is we could ever figure out how to get, we have a couple of commercial guys that don't have any platform for them or no tools and listing presentations. And, I didn't feel comfortable bringing on more commercial people or even thinking about it because I don't know commercial as a owner. So,
Sure.
Well,
and that's kind of the idea, commercial resources, there's a lot here. But, we kind of become, we take very seriously that stuff at the bottom of the stationery that says independently owned and operated, so we would never, step into anything. But if you said, hey, Mike, can you work with our guys and do a webinar on how to make a listing presentation? Hey, can you, do 30 minutes on, whatever it might be, we can do that. Plus, we've got the for the tier 2 users, we've got the first and third Thursday trainings. They're at noon Eastern time on the first and third Thursdays. They're about an hour. The first Thursday is usually some kind of fundamental, more entry-level commercial real estate principles and practices. The third Thursday is generally something a little higher level. Not that we wouldn't invite everybody, but it might be a little bit more than what the brand new person might, grasp and get a whole lot of value out of.
Hey, Mike, will you go through the metrics of opportunity? We have about 175 agents. We sell a couple thousand houses a year. What's the opportunity for commercial people in our network?
You mean in your company?
Yeah, you were talking about. I can't remember.
Well, there are some numbers that we know that hold across the country, and you got 170. How many full-time residential sales professionals do you think you have?
All of them, 175. We don't hire part-time people.
Okay, so let's say 175 full-time people. The residential numbers say that the average full-time residential sales professional, and there's a lot there, full-time sales professional, has a sphere of influence of about 400 people. So 400 times 175 is 70,000 people in the sphere of influence of your company. And every single one of those people work for or own, or their spouse does, a business. And in commercial real estate, there's a principle called the 595 rule. If any of you have been around a while, Mike Lipsey, Jerry Anderson, any of those guys, they teach the 595 principle. And that is that at any given time, 5% of the companies are in the market with a need. And at any given time, 5% of the properties are on the market for sale or lease or whatever. So if you look at the sphere of influence of your company of 70,000 people, 5% of that is 3,500 of those people, companies, right now, today, are in the market with a need, looking for something. Now, there's some duplicate there because, some people have the same people in their sphere of influence. So, but the point is, that about 3,500 companies right now in your market looking for something, want to expand, contract, lease, renew, sell, leaseback, something. And what if you guys, as a commercial group, could go to all the residential agents and teach them how to say, well, geez, Mrs. Smith, I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me and the confidence you've shown in me and allowing me to help you buy a house, sell a house, whatever. Let me ask you a question. What do you, your spouse, your company, what are you doing in commercial real estate? And the reason I ask that is we've got some folks in my company that are just as good in commercial real estate as I am in residential. I'd love to introduce you to them. The math tells us if we had every one of those 175 people asking that question only once a week, 5% means 8.5, so let's call it eight people with a need in the sphere of influence of your company that they could turn over to you for a 25% referral fee or whatever. So, the amount of business that could be generated commercially if you guys learned how to properly teach the residential people how to ask that question. Our residential people, we tell them here in Tampa, if they're not making an extra $30,000 a year referring commercial business to the commercial folks, they're not asking the question. They're missing the boat. One of the most powerful things you can do is have a commercial guy go to a residential sales meeting, and let's say the residential sales person, sold a house to Dr. Patel, and Dr. Patel wants to sell his office condo, 2,500 square feet. So that residential person refers it to you, Scott. So 2,500 feet at $200 a foot is $500,000 on a 7% fee. That's $35,000. If you just pay them 25% of the listing side of that, that's a check of over $4,000, $4,375, which is as much as probably they're going to get, selling a lot of houses. So you go there and hand them a check, and everybody's like, well, what did you do to get that? Well, I just introduced Scott to Dr. Patel, who wanted to sell his office condo, and then I stepped away. So you got to start doing that and taking advantage of that huge sphere of influence that you're, right now just writing off.
Right. Yeah, if we only captured 15%, it's still over 500 opportunities a year.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nope. A lot to take in.
Yeah, it's like drinking from a fire hose, but once you get plugged in, start using a tier 3. The stuff is free. Get your listings in there. Get your bio upgraded. Because the truth is, if somebody in Tampa searches and finds you and they don't find a picture and they don't find a bio, or your bio talks about that you're a E-certified and a fine home specialist, they're going to say, that's a great person, but that's not who I'm looking for. Or they find no information, just your name and a phone number. They're like, well, this person obviously doesn't take it very seriously. So they're going to keep looking. So I would tell you, watch that video on logging in and editing your profile, and try to create, the most professional commercial real estate profile you can. Start getting your listings in there, and then, Scott, if you decide, you want to go to tier 2, we can do some trainings and let everyone work with it for a week, and then come back and do a question and answer kind of thing. And I think plug people into the bi-monthly trainings. I would encourage all you folks too to get to the convention in Phoenix. We've got 13 commercial training sessions at the convention, specialized, targeted for owner broker managers, targeted for experienced people, targeted for entry-level people. We have general sessions for everybody. You all aren't that far from Phoenix, so I would suggest that too.
I hear that. All right. Well, if nobody else has any other questions, let me know.
Lee, do you have any more?
No, well, I got more questions than I don't know the questions, because I got to figure out how to plug in here. And actually, you're giving me more help than Doteen's great, but she's also a broker, so.
Right.
So I got.
Yeah, that's our job. Anything we can do to help you, let me know.
Yeah, well, I can take your advice and try and see if I can have lunch with Tony Floyd and see where this thing's going.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks,
Scott,
guys.
let me know what we can do for you.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.